Sustainability in the construction industry. Our guest for today is leading a company that aims to promote eco-friendly construction through innovative materials and products. Ria Canlas is the woman behind Piety Technology Incorporated.
A woman of today was a mere dream for a woman of yesterday. History has shown how difficult it is for a woman to cement her space in the realm of science. But today, we take the lead. We set the standards. We are in the front lines. We are women. We work to create a world where a woman can choose science as her journey, where technology is her uninterrupted road, and progress is her destination. We work to create a world where a woman in science is the norm, not the exception. A world where she is a constant educator, innovator, mentor, and leader. A world that is, and will continue to be, an inclusive and diverse global scientific community.
I am Dr. Maharlika. I am an engineer scientist, and I am a woman in science.
Sustainability in the construction industry. Our guest for today is leading a company that aims to promote eco-friendly construction through innovative materials and products. Ria Canlas is the woman behind Piety Technology Incorporated.
I wanted to make an impact by solving real problems. Malasakit is not just a branding, but it's actually the way of operation of Polite. It's very important now na ngayon we have good design in the Philippines. Ako nga hindi ko nare-realize na I'm doing good design pala. I optimize my products so that it becomes available and affordable to socialized housing. When you use Polite blocks, you already eliminate plastering, painting. There's less processes involved in the use of my materials. Yung tibay nandoon, malasakit, safe ka na nakatira ka sa bahay mo. Ang good design also extends beyond its usability. So you're saving the future generation. Technology innovation and design innovation are both keys to economic progress. When we combine them both, there will now be no need to trade beauty with cost or cost with strength.
All right, good afternoon. I would like to discuss about concrete technology research and innovation strategies that will practically help you students, especially maybe most of you are already picking up their thesis or are about to enroll their thesis classes. I would like to outline my discussion into three. First, I'd like you to know about technology readiness level so that you know where you are in terms of the products or the services that you are developing. I will walk you through on my Polite research and innovation strategies, which you can apply to your own. And of course, I will discuss about the concrete technology and its vast source of research and innovation in various building materials. So let's start with technology readiness level. Okay. So everything that we do, especially if we're in civil engineering or in any field of engineering or technology, we're into that we undergo a so-called 9 steps. And in these 9 steps, was um which was gotten from the NASA, no? The NASA assessment whether they would allow an airplane to fly or not. No, this is the same technology readiness level that has been adopted around the globe so that we know our progress. Okay, everything has to start from an invention. And that invention composed of 3 steps. Number one, you do your research that still crude, you wanted to test it further. So you go to the fourth and fifth stages, that's the development and validation. You may want to do some laboratory testing, and I know you guys are very um, familiar with the use of various laboratories, which is a laboratory environment, meaning it's a bench experiment, meaning you're just in a house, sitting in a room and doing such laboratory. You may want to further it by performing component testing in a simulation. Like you have to come up with various simulated environment testing. When you say component testing, you are testing each of the parts of your product or technology. Now, that's we call development and validation of the component parts of your development. You may now proceed with the further steps we call prototype demonstration. This one, you integrate and you put together all the components and make it as a whole, no? So, example, in my case, I have a hollow blocks or a panel wall. So I will now put it together and put a big and put it in a big wall or put it in a house. So or in the building. So now I can now do prototype demonstration in simulation. So I can also do simulation you in a room in a laboratory or apply it on an actual operational demonstration, meaning I have to apply it really in an actual structure. Then after which I proceed with testing and application. That's the number 8, the actual technology completed testing, meaning when meaning I can already it is successfully being used in the structure where it is purpose to be used, and also I have already resolved some of the manufacturing or fabrication issues. So I'm now in number 9, the actual technology for deployment. So I am now ready to offer the product to the users or to your clients. So doing your thesis probably will give you at least 1, 2, and 3 stages. And you have the option to moving it far forward depending on the promise or depending on how good your technology is. And there are later I'll tell you some good news on how you can actually move forward to your thesis or research. Now there are two words that we're usually use. No, we use this every now and then, and these are the words research and innovation. And I'd like you guys to understand the real concept of innovation. Okay, the 1 to 9 stages is divided into 2 because the research phase is 1, 2, 3, but actually 4 and 5 is also in somehow is also part of research. And the previous number 4 to 9 are innovation, or sabihin natin pre-commercialization stage, that is stage 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay? So in other words, magkaiba sila. No? Research and innovation are two different animals, but they go hand in hand. No, For instance, okay, you can see this here in this diagram, an innovation process. Everything has to start from a creative idea. You have to use your minds, try to do some usage of your both left and right brains. You convert that creativity, that idea, do your research, and at some point in time in your R&D, you need funding, of course. No? So for thesis, it's practically called the bootstrapping, or it's called self-funding. No, you guys fund yourself during your thesis. I acknowledge that some of the thesis projects that we have in the university are really expensive, no, especially for engineering. Somehow, at some point in time, maybe about 8 years ago or 10 years ago, a typical thesis team would be spending about 80,000, 75,000 to 100,000 in their thesis. And I still met some engineering students who spent as high as 500,000 in their thesis. It depends on your proposal. But of course, there are some theses that cost less simply because of the proposal, simply because of the idea. The amount that you spend on the thesis, of course, depends on the idea that you have proposed and your panel approved. After the R&D, if you spend big on your research, you spend 50,000, 75,000, 100,000, oh my God, that's already a capitalization. That's already a capital. So in other words, if you spend money, time, effort on your thesis, it has to reach the market. Otherwise, all of your thesis are just a waste of everything, waste of all the resources. This is what I am advocating. No? That the moment you spend for your thesis, it has to be something that will benefit its supposed user. And thus, after research, we proceed with innovation, and that is the market. Okay, so R&D to market is innovation. And thus, there are a lot of funding that we can get, such as you apply for intellectual property filing so that you'll be protected and no one will steal your idea. You do your pre-commercialization like TRL number 6789, and then commercialization when you're done with TRL 6789. Okay. There are a lot of supports that make a sustainable ecosystem for entrepreneurs, or we call ourselves technopreneurs. Okay, that is in collaboration with academe, government, and the industry. Now, having said that, I hope that everybody's already trying to figure out what innovation is really all about. Okay, innovation is very much discussed and explained by the government in a Republic Act 11293, the Philippine Innovation Act, which was signed last April 17 of 2019, and of course, the Republic Act 11337, or the Innovative Startup Act, ISA, signed last April 26, 2019. The government already defined what innovation is. And as said by the government, innovation is I have actually put in bold the important terminologies. It is the creation of ideas which are supposed to be spread, transferred, and commercialized. It's a two-form part. No, you develop the ideas, and then this idea has to be spread, transferred, or commercialized. In other words, it has to be used. So if you don't satisfy these two conditions, example, it's just a new idea, it's a new product, but it's not transferred or commercialized, it's not called innovation. It is only called research. Okay? But when your research is used, transferred, commercialized, it's being adopted, then you complete the process and it is now called innovation. Furthermore, the law extends the definition of innovation into having its impact. Okay, it needs to have social impact. It needs to be a way to solve poverty. Like, of course, your product might produce or generate jobs. It needs to have economic impact because, of course, You need to be at least 1 cent, 1 peso richer than you were in the past. And of course, the environment impact. And the most important thing that we have to consider is how we decarbonize. No? How do we mitigate climate change? All of this should all together should together be the impact of our innovation. Otherwise, if it's something that does not address this factor, then I don't think it is worth moving forward. Okay? So in other words, I am just reiterating that innovation is a two-part. The number one is the ideation process, where we do a lot of thinking, and that is called the creative thinking. A creative thinking is a person who can easily discern things that are not discerned by other people. That's creative, no? Meaning you are the only person who can discern a particular pattern, and none of your colleagues can do the same. So in other words, it's creative. That's very eminent to you as a person. That is something that comes out from your own personal ideation process using either your left or right brains. Okay, I'm always using the left and the right brains because these two parts of our brain have separate functions. Okay, the left portion of our brain is more analytical, and the engineers are more inclined to using their left brain. The right brain is more creative. This goes with architects or those in the arts, in the arts, no, the creative industry. So this is more of being more imaginative. Of course, it's best if you can flex both of the left and right side of your brain so that you can come up with the very creative thinking that you alone was able to think of. And when you say doing it yourself, the way of the creative thinking, then what you're doing or the output of your using of the banal or non-obvious or individual characters. So these are some of the terms that we discuss or how we define or describe a new idea. It's new. Okay? Yan ang mga these terms, no? And of course, this idea is then useless unless it is being adopted either in your workplace, in your school, in your community, the people, the society, or in a business, in an industry. So that's completing the innovation. And I'm an intellectual property expert. I had clients, and typically if it's civil engineering related or engineering related technology, I'm one of the person you can consult, of course. And there are various ways of putting our idea into a tangible prototype, no? A product that we can really hold, and an intangible intellectual property. I mean, intellectual property is something intangible, we cannot touch them, but this intellectual property goes with your product. No? And there are 7 intellectual property: copyright, patents and utility model, industrial design, trademark, geographic indication, topography, integrated circuits, and trade secrets. So I think the discussion of intellectual property would be best on your next you can invite me on your next talk and we discuss it more in detail. Okay. Now, what the best way to really develop ideas and do your research and innovation is a so-called problem solution approach. Okay. You pick up the problem and then you solve it. That's how it is being done. But to further expand how we do problem solution approach, I'd like to propose the following steps. No? First, you identify the problem, what is it? And you can actually ask yourself by a so-called HMW. How might we? Identification of a problem always starts with this magical word, how might we? Or HMW. No? How might we develop a concrete that does this and that, etc., etc. Okay? Palagi mo tinatanong yung sarili mo, how might we? And thus explains why your thesis always starts with chapter 1, the problem, identification of the problem. You always problematize. And if you're a civil engineer, you can actually solve the problem of your industry. Why go further? No? You are in the construction industry. This is your industry, and thus solve the problem where you belong. Because if you solve a problem where you belong, you know that the problem is very timely. You know that the problem has a critical matter. It's something worth experimenting because it solves a present problem. When you solve a present problem, you already know that your research is very relevant and usable. Always starts with an HMW, the how might we, and you relate that with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. Yung impact, no? The research has to need that impact. It's not just solely creating something. It has to address a major concern that will help not just you, not just the Philippines, but the whole world. And to do so, you have to review the Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations. There are 17 Sustainable Development Goals, so that you know that you can be of bigger help than just solving a petty thesis. Okay, we can always make impacts from our thesis. Now, again, the correct context, setting up the project, always solve your own industry, the problems of your industry. And you might also consider pandemic, of course, a pandemic as one of the settings of the new normal as one of the settings of any of your solutions. Okay. Now you have to identify a solution to that problem, and that solution can be in a form of a product or a process or a business model of or a service, as long as it is a new or an improvement of what is already existing. Kaya may tinatawag tayong new product, new process, improvement of an existing product, improvement of an existing thesis. These four are called technical innovation. These are more meant to be patentable, okay? Dapat yung solution mo, it has something to be on that line. And for you to know that your solution is new or improved, you have to, of course, make a research on the things that are already existing. No, hindi pwede yung natulog ka, tapos na naginip ka, no, na sinabi sa panaginip mo, you have this thesis, and then kinabukasan, you go to your teacher and tell, ma'am, this is unique. What has been your basis of your research being new or improved? There is a baseline. There is always a basis. And the basis is always what is existing. Okay? For you to know what is existing, you have to conduct the so-called RRL. For those taking thesis, of course, you know this. RRL, the review of the related literature. There are two ways of reviewing related literature. Okay? You can either, if that's a product or process, I hardly suggest to review the patent database to know what are the products out there that are already existing, actual products that are given an intellectual property or protection. You know why? Because you will commit a big mistake if you copied or accidentally do a product that is already existing. Okay? Bawal po yun, no? Bawal tayong gumaya, okay? So, that the researchers, especially in the engineering sector, should always search the patent databases to see the most related product or the most similar product to the ones you are developing. And then, when you see the similarity, add something so that you will now be having a difference over what is already existing. Your difference from what is existing is your creative idea. Okay? Yung kaibahan mo from what is existing is your invention. All right? Now, other than the patent search, of course, a lot of you from basic school, from primary to secondary school, have been doing this, no? Non-patent search. These are exploring all of the possible references. Example, you go to libraries, you watch videos, magazines, any type of sources from the Google search engine out there in the internet. So as long as they are not a patented product, they are called a non-patent search. But altogether, no, putting them together is both review of related literature. Okay, but most of the time, you were able to do research only on non-patent research. You just go on whatever you can search out there, without really going into details of the patent databases. And there are quite a lot of free patent databases, which of course, it's a very long discussion, which can be part of a future webinars, okay? Then after that, so nalaman mo na what is already existing, you already know whether your idea is new. If not, how do you do it? You find similarities and differences, okay? If you have a difference over what is existing, then very good. You can now identify that difference if it's really new or novel and if it's really inventive. No? There are certain criteria that we set to know whether the idea is just new or it's new and inventive. No? So iba-ibang stages yon. Bawat stages that you qualify, there is a corresponding intellectual property that goes with it. And part of your right is to get a protection on your creative output. So find similarities and differences. And from the finding of the similarities and differences, you could put it in a table, diba? In the table form, and then write similarity, differences. And from there, you can spot whether you are an innovation or invention. In word innovation is also used in intellectual property. Innovation is much, invention is much higher in terms of innovation than there are in terms of criteria. Okay, after which you can do some customer discovery and personas. Of course, you have to do a survey, ask some of the potential clients or users of your product, ask them, and then if you found out something else that they want, you go back and do re-ideation and then perhaps improve the features or functionalities of your product. Okay? Then we do the value proposition. Value proposition is that unique features that you have that you think the customers and clients would adopt or use your product. Always like that. No? Of course, in this world when the globe is when the globe really is very much reachable in the advent of the digitalization, no? Everybody's selling products and you have thousands of competitors out there. You have to be sure that you have a value proposition. You have to be sure that there's something new in your technology that others don't have, and that's value proposition. Your difference over what is already existing. Now, as I've said, doing or researching what is already existing takes much of your time, no? Of course, you can go to Scope of Index, Web of Science, and some examples of patent database are called Patent Scope, ESPASnet. You just type them on the Google search engine, and of course, you'll be led into the websites, and you could do your search there. No, but I actually did something. No, I developed the www.ashanaemergingindustries.com or so-called an Ashana system where it could be a single access of all of this data. Because if we wanted to access more of them one by one, parang toxic, no? Parang pa-isa ka nila nag-access. Why not access in single access plus, no? Plus, single access of doing your review of literature, both in patent and non-patent, plus business data, okay, and that's what Ashana system is all about. But this, but of course, to discuss the Ashana system is another session. So you can just invite me in any future webinars to discuss Ashana system, so that I'll tell you how to use this to make your research easier. Okay. Now, next is there are, if you really wanted to pursue offering your product to the market, there are at least various stages, like you do you find your addressable market, who will be your client. You have to compute how much you need in that technology, how much you will earn, your revenue. If you offer that technology, you can do a business model canvas using the lean method. Yung business model canvas, nandun na lahat, which I think you're studying in your technopreneurship subjects. Okay? Diba, gumagawa tayo ng BMC, the business model canvas. Sa isang project, no? Dapat kasi magkaasawa. Dapat yung thesis and technopreneurship are couple, so that isa na lang ginagawa mong product. The common mistake in universities is that you have a separate project in technopreneurship, a separate project and thesis, walang naging totoo, walang naging commercial. Okay? So if you are just hitting two birds with one stone, no? Pagsamahin na lang isang project na lang, both in technopreneurship and thesis, that much better. You have a good chance of really offering your market to offering your product to the market. Okay? And then of course, you do product development or do prototyping. Ang tawag natin MVP, the minimum viable product. That's your prototype, no? And then, as I've said, when you do your proof of concept, you can already apply for intellectual property. And yes, you can look for a team now. You can look for your colleagues. You can collaborate, no? You can go and find your team that you want to work with, specifically multidisciplinary team. You can look for team members or teammates that don't have the same skill sets as you, someone that complements you, someone that can do what you cannot do. You can put up the team, apply for a startup company, okay? And then find your industry partner so that they can manufacture and then can beautify your work, sell to your adopters, and then scale up. Scale up means producing more, okay? Scaling up your manufacturing or production. Okay. Now, these are all about technology readiness level and that you be guided on how to proceed. No? It's a very one-on-one step that if you follow, you're close to success. Now, I will walk you through on my own experience, and as I walk you through, this can also be your guide in doing your research. I'll walk you through on the polite and research innovation strategies. First, I identify the problem, and my problem is about climate change, about devastations, displacement brought about by a lot of calamities. There are earthquake, typhoon, volcanic eruption, war, not that such as that happened in Marawi, for instance. Pandemic, worsening housing gap, and the unlivable houses that are provided to the less fortunate or the informal settlers. Okay, all in all, putting a problem on housing and the environment of housing. And to solve this, I come up with, and furthermore, there's also a problem of green alternative for conventional materials. I mean, we know that there are a lot of existing traditional materials, but we wanted to make more options. No? We want to use more green alternative. And we want a home that adds value to your money because you're buying a home. You practically have saved money just to buy a home, and thus you wanted a home that is a reflection of who you are, a home that adds dignity to you as a family and to the environment, and a home where each of the family can actually reflect their creativity. And thus, because of all of this concept, my solution is this prefabricated eco-couture panel system building materials, which I call polite technology. And of course, polite technology is a design to build technology. Sometimes you have to coin a particular adjective that describes the technology. I call it design to build because the design of the building or the structure should already be considered during the fabrication. Okay, so because I have to do the messy work in my plant and have to deliver it ready to install in the job site. It is called eco-couture. Eco stands for it's green composite. I practically use environment-friendly formulation, and thus it has these magnificent features like it is high early strength, it is 5 times stronger, it cures in 24 hours, it is 64% lighter, it is fire retardant up to 120 minutes, water absorbent, chemical resistant. It's couture because of the about, I think, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 customizations or 6 customizations for your products. So number 1, I can customize the dimensions, any geometry, any shape. I can customize its look. It could be stone look, wood look, or how look. No? It can be of any color. I can customize the surface patterns. It could be plain, it could be brick look, it could be tile look. I can customize the texture. It could be glossy, rough. I can even put graphic designs on the surface, as the surface of my material act as a good canvas for any graphic designs, and it has a tongue and groove connection that easily aligns. And because of this, in the near future, I'll be promoting women in construction because it's lightweight, it's a tongue and groove, it's easy to use. So why not utilize the women in terms of construction? Okay. So so all in all, I'm sorry. So all in all, the product is said to be quality efficient, cost efficient up to 25% savings in labor and material costs. It is time efficient up to 82% faster in terms of man hours, and most especially the innovative formulation and design results into 46% less carbon dioxide emission and about 43% less pollution. And you can see this in the screen, the video of the actual products that were installed. No, basically, I'm not just about walls. I do walls, I do floors, I do cladding, I do countertop, and I even do furnitures. Okay. Now, let's start the development process. No, that from the yung tinatawag nating technology readiness level. No, of course, I started with using about 1,000 specimens, and you could see the specimens there, different looks of specimen. Those were my crude prototype. And during the span of time, and that span of time I'm talking about means years, of course, this product has evolved into up to its fifth generation. The fifth generation is the sixth generation. There's another generation after the fifth. The sixth generation is now award winning. Okay. And also, I try to do a lot of life cycle analysis, for instance, that could also be part of your analysis. Like I remove some of the most toxic parts of the what you call this of the cycle of the manufacturing cycle, and thus this life cycle analysis brought about the benefits to the environment, or we call decarbonization, less carbon dioxide emission. And of course, in terms of doing your research, there are different steps. Now, in my case, because it's really, I really do the complete technology readiness level of number 1 to 9. Now, everything has to start from the optimization of the raw materials or the fillers, then the optimization of the material matrix itself or the formula itself, then the optimization of my panel. What will be the shape of my panel, will be the size of my panel, what will be the dimension, and then the optimization when it comes to using the product into an actual building structures. No? Now, moving on with one by one of this optimization. In this example, we could see the optimization matrix for the optimization for the raw materials. Okay, these are identifying what are your raw materials that you will use in your formula, and we call it characterization. Basic characterization includes basic testing. No? For example, we do the unit weight analysis, we compute for specific gravity, absorption. Excuse me, even with the water content ratio, etc., initial time of setting, final setting, percent fineness, and a lot more. Okay, in other words, doing characterization, especially for new technology or new materials, will mean you undergoing practically all the tests that you have encountered in your subjects, soil mechanics, and what's the other one? Materials and testing. No? So you just have to follow the procedures that are there in your laboratory manual. Okay. Then after which we do varying amounts of the formula that I use. No, I do like play about 0% of the replaced material to 25% of the replaced, 50%, 75%, 100%. This is called optimization because you don't want to miss any possible formulation. So in other words, if you wanted really to know the exact formulation, then you might as well replace it gradually. And then along the way, you can do interpolation so that if you wanted a proportion of mixture that are not exactly 25, 50, 75, or 100%. Okay. And then we could see also here the charts of ages of the material, such as age of 1, 3, 7, and 28 days, specifically testing under flexural strength and compressive strength. So as you can see, there are really observations on data, no, and then it's about time for you to analyze those data. In my case, there are some observations on data, and that leads me really to being a licensed materials engineer, because I need to know more how to interpret my data. No, I try to consult with some materials engineer, but they cannot give me the answer that practically explains why my data is behaving this way. So I have to further my studies. I myself study, and I really wanted to be somebody who's really expert in materials. Okay. So I took the exam. Of course, before you took the exam, you have to study. So I know a lot of things already on material science, and that I can now explain my data. This is a very important data that will lead you into what's the right formula to use in the market. Okay. There are mathematical analysis, statistical analysis that you really need to employ to validate your results, because getting the results of the laboratory test not enough. Okay? Hindi pwedeng hindi cannot be na stop ka lang sa ganon. No? You have to validate the results if the result is really significant. And thus the use of multiple linear regression had made me understand the contribution of each of the components of my formula. No, example, what does the binder mean? What does the filler mean? No, what does it contributes, etc. In other words, because of statistical analysis, I can already I know what makes my product lightweight, what makes my product strong in terms of compression, and what makes my product strong in flexure. And thus, it gives you a adjusted R square F value and significance that will really make you realize that you are really on the right track. Okay, otherwise you have to go back on the laboratory works. Okay. Also, besides that, we do optimization of the panel itself, of the material itself, as a single product. Example, as a tiles or as a hollow blocks. So you could see that there are different product forms, and I try to test them separately on how they use, no? Because there are different conditions. If it's a wall, and a separate condition if it's used as a floor materials. Okay, and I also experimented on making my product usable. I'm using my left and right brain all of the time. I use them all together. Okay, so I'd like to put beauty in whatever I do. Everything beautiful is different, no? So here I try to put graphic designs on my product. Kaya as you can see, like my using the same, I do experimentation using the same graphic design. The signature of the prints are different. For example, I'm using a black polite tiles, and I use the same graphic design, same colors. It appears to be like a glow in the dark. But if I use a white polite tiles, then that is how the graphic art will look like. It's very colorful. Okay, so in other words, there are a lot of possibilities in terms of the aesthetics of the design. Next is, of course, we do a lot of mathematical analysis, a lot of computation, specifically strain analysis to validate your laboratory results. This time in the picture, you can see we're already testing it as a hollow block. So not like as a specimen as I've shown in the previous figures. This one is already a hollow blocks. We do the testings. We compute, we do mathematical computations for its stress strain relationships in all the three axes, X, Y, Z axis, then followed by a so-called finite element analysis or simulations to really optimize the performance of the products. And from the results of the finite element analysis, we graph them and perform multiple regression models, or also known as artificial neural network models, to determine what is the optimal dimensions applicable for my hollow blocks. Example, I wanted to know what is the really best size of my hollow blocks, what is the best number of ribs, what is the best thickness of the ribs, okay? And that's using all of those combined strategies. No, we just a review. We do characterization, we do optimization, we do simulations, plus laboratory experiments. I've come up with the material properties of my products. I do a lot of simulations, and these are separate researches I did with some civil engineering students. Well, if you wanted to work with me, of course, in the future, I could be working with you in your thesis or your future projects. No, this time we do simulation and analysis using polite with concrete structural members, meaning the posts and the beams are concrete, but the walls are polite and the walls are load bearing. Another study that we did was to use the polite both as a wall and a structural member. So I don't use any concrete part here. All are polite. And another simulation is another simulation is to combine polite as a design to build technology to another design to build technology as a framing system. So this time I use the cold form steel as a framing system. And lastly, we do simulation on using different shapes of the building. Like this one is a geodesic dome, which meant, of course, to withstand the highest wind load in the Philippines, highest earthquake. There are other researches done for polite. Example, we do ito mga researches to. No? These are theses. When I say research, these are theses. No? For example, the variable and the fixed cost based analysis or cost analysis of the product. We also did design optimizations for load bearing specifications. We also did validity and reliability for sustainable or green product accreditation. We also did optimization by mass reduction strategy, and also determination of labor productivity rates or labor manpower. Okay, so it's encompassing basically all the different what you call this, all the different specialization in civil engineering, environment, construction management, structural, and so on and so forth. Okay. Now let's move on to sorry, my slide is Let's do on the last part of my outline, which is concrete technology is a vast resource of research and innovation, building materials. First of all, I love concrete, of course. I love the fascination behind concrete. I love the way that it matures or reaches its compressive design strength at 28 days. So I'd like to understand the wonder, the magic behind concrete. As a young engineer, I do a lot of concrete pouring activities, both high rise, mid rise, horizontal. I've done those types of projects, and I'm always fascinated by how I need to do the exact methodology on doing concrete pouring so that I'd be able to come up with a good output. Otherwise, if I don't take care of the methodology of concrete pouring, practically my material will fail. And the problem with concrete is that it will fail after you have already poured the concrete. Okay, so I also did projects like um in the past, like trying to resolve some issues about the workability of concrete that fails after concrete pouring. When I become a contractor at an early age of 23, no, I start my first construction company at the age of 23, and I dwell in wet works. I love wet works. Wet works, like I do contracts on CHP laying, plastering, tile works. I like them. I like them. That's why when I do my own invention, it is the industry that I enter into. It's the we call the modified concrete. My Polite is a modified concrete, and I'm not just about inventing it. I am making an impact by solving housing problems and addressing societal issues and environmental issues. That's why concrete in itself, being one of the most traditional concrete materials, is a best starting point for creating your future inventions. Okay, so there are buzzwords that you can play around, like prefabrication, prefabricated, modular, compact, lightweight, designed to build, cost time efficiency. We can do concrete in green, blue, gray technologies. We can do to address climate change, resiliency, sustainability, renewal, remote, or shelter, or business model. I forgot one word, circularity. It's a circular economy. So all of these buzzwords really appeal to concrete. I'd like to teach you. I think I still have time. This is very short. If I still have time, okay. So just tell me if I'm going beyond the time, okay. So I just wanted to teach you different ideation techniques, okay. Number one, you reimagine the experience. Reimagining the experience is simply knowing the process or order of process and try to rearrange the process. For example, one process involves A, B, C. Then why not rearrange them, make it A, C, B, or why not remove some of the process? If we remove one process, etc. That's reimagining. Okay, reimagining is not following what is the supposed or the traditional way. Okay, another technique is called mashup. The mashup is practically mixing your technology with another technology that is not the same or unrelated category. You combine them together and you see what would be the result. And the third one is the flip the rules with tech. This flip the rules with tech is just change the game entirely with the help of technology. And there are quite just few examples of technology like augmented reality, quick response, social media, teleconferencing, geolocation, streaming. We have GPT, we have metaverse, we have everything. AI, of course. No? I'll give you an example. Okay, example. Why not do the construction process, for instance? And I know that the CHB work or the concrete hollow blocks works composed of three different stages. One is the CHB laying, B is plastering, C is painting. What if I remove B? I just do A and then C. A to C agad. I remove B. So this is basically the concept of the very popular material that we have right now, the AAC blocks. So, and of course, a lot of eco panels out there that when you put them, install them, they're ready for skim coat, they're ready for painting. Okay. Why in the case of removing everything, just A alone and remove B and C? A only, that's my technology. A only, just laying, no more plastic, no more painting. There are also examples in material science, the components of concrete, for instance, it's cement, sand, gravel, water admixtures. Try to, establish some removal or replacement of any portion of 1, 2, 3, and 4 in the design mix. And be sure that when you're removing, replacing some of the parts of it, you have to ask yourselves the question, why? Is it about cost efficiency, time efficiency, or quality efficiency? This is the most of the most of the strategy being used by civil engineering students right now. No, they try to come up with modified concrete, replace each, as long as the replacement also perform the same replacement, the same performance of the material that you wanted to replace. But be sure that there's efficiency behind it. It has to be much cheaper or much fewer time to construct or much environment friendly. That has to be something that has an impact on replacing or removing some of the components. Okay, you can do mash up. For example, why not combine concrete with agriculture? Let's say combine concrete with bamboo, concrete with abaka, and all types of this. Don't call it a bamboo concrete or a agri-reinforced concrete. Or why not combine concrete with FRP or fiber reinforced plastic so that you come up with fiber reinforced concrete? Or combine concrete with art. These are completely different technology. And one of the things that I saw very much on the art side are pervious concrete. Okay? Flip the rules, like say, why not concrete plus mobile application? I mean, why not come up with a concrete designing application? Or why not come up with a concrete visualization application? Or a concrete X-ray application? And so on and so forth. There are a lot of unlimited things when it comes to mobile application or systems design. Concrete plus 3D printer. How was it? No, using it as a 3D printer filament, do 3D printing, etc. Okay, so these are some example of the strategies that you can use to come up with different products, innovative products. Okay, now I'd like to tell you that there is a big opportunity out there for engineers on entrepreneurship of Filipino innovators. No, we have, as I said in the previous slide, there is a Republic Act 11293 that mandates the creation of the National Innovation Council, and this council was just finalized last February, and you can see the news here, last February 2023. And I'd like to tell you that I am one of the 7 executive members appointed by the president to serve as one of the NIC Council executive member, together with the secretaries of the different government agencies. So you can see here DOST, DTI, DA, DNR, DOH, DOT, DO, and so on and so forth. So 16 plus us 17. I'm so happy to be serving the Philippines. Part of my mandate is for you, the young people, to facilitate innovation and to become startup companies in the future, use or to be instrumental in innovating materials and processes that we have in the construction industries. Okay, before I end my discussion, please join me. No, you can be a member of the Researchers, Inventors, Scientists, Engineers of the Philippines, or RISE. I'm the present vice president of this organization. If you are a researcher and if you want to be a budding scientist in the future, does not mean that you're already an inventor, a scientist, because we help you to become one. Okay, please join me. I want more young people to be joining the Inventors and Researchers group. If you wanted to know simulation, as I've said, we do finite element analysis in my simulation. So please join me also. I'm the president of the Finite Element Institute of the Philippines. And lastly, if you're into good governance and nation building and you want to use technology to educate the younger people, join me in my YOUNG, the Youth for the Nation and Good Governance. For all people out there, for all of you who want to join, please send me an email. Yeah, I have my email address there, or add me in my FB Messenger. And for my last slide, this is my Sophie Wolpas, located at NAIA Terminal 3, the Manila Life Cafe, and all the ones I had. Subscribe also to my YouTube channel, Dr. Ria Liza. Okay, thank you so much. That ends my presentation.